Mike Moore Media, the first place to hear Rockingham County news and information.
It's our monthly Team Reidsville podcast. Today with Haywood Cloud Jr., Assistant City Manager of Community Services, Judy Yarborough, City Marketer, and Jeff Garska, Economic Development Director. The topic today, good news about the Old North State League. Haywood, Judy, Jeff, good to have you all on the program. Let's start with you, Haywood, and let's talk about the economic development focus to begin.
Well, thank you for having us again, Mike. I don't think it's a secret by now to know that our city manager, Preston Mitchell, since he came in the city of Reidsville several years ago, his focus has been on economic development. So this idea of the Old North State Collegiate Baseball Summer League was something he looked at several months ago, gave me a call and asked us to take a look at it. I think this just is another idea from a long list of ideas that he's brought to the table.
Sure.
That has an economic development impact.
That's exactly right. Baseball, very popular as it continues to grow in Reidsville, has a rich history actually going back to the 1930s. But bring us up to date on what's the history of the Old North State League, Haywood?
Well, the Old North State League was established in 2018, and it's the newest summer collegiate baseball league in North Carolina. And over the years, baseball has evolved throughout North Carolina. In the early 1900s, every rural town in the state had a town team made up of mill workers. Now North Carolina is known for having some of the best college baseball teams in the country. Mm-hmm. The Old North State League is truly a league for players. It's a league that each player can develop, showcase their abilities in front of scouts, while also giving them an opportunity to enjoy the summer in this great state. This league will end up, hopefully, stretched to every, according to the owners, stretched to every corner of the state, and they give players a chance and fans a chance to see the most beautiful scenery in the South, whether it's the mountains of the western part, pine trees of the central part of North Carolina, or along the beaches in the Outer Banks. So we're excited about this opportunity.
Oh, yeah. This is really cool. Go over the other teams that we have just for FYI here, Haywood.
So there are 8 teams so far in the Old North State League, and Reidsville will be the 9th one. Right now we have a team out of Ramsville, North Carolina, the Deep River Mud Dogs, the Guilford Lumber Kings out of Greensboro, the Triad Tribe out of High Point, the Carolina Coyotes out of Fayetteville, the Swepsonville Sweepers out of Graham, North Carolina, the Moxville Muscadines out of Moxville, Bull City Crash out of Durham, and the Lexington Flying Pigs out of Lexington.
All right. Those are some interesting names. And then we add Reidsville to the list, number 9.
Yes, sir.
Okay. What about the schedule?
Well, it looks like so far the season will be from June 1st to July 31st. They play summer collegiate baseball during their college off-season. It'll be roughly about 30 to 40 games, with half of those being at home. They've played this year, but of course, because of the pandemic, there have been some places where only 25 fans were allowed, and in other places, no fans. But that will be, of course, be normal once we get out of this pandemic.
Mm-hmm, yeah. So normally the schedule June 1 through July 31. So we're really looking ahead to next year, the 2021 season, and all we're talking about.
Yes, sir, absolutely. That's exactly what we're looking for.
Yeah. Well, thank you for the materials you sent. I printed everything out, and it just kept printing, because I have some really neat photos, what you're doing at J.C. Park Field number 3. So this is exciting. Tell us what's going on there.
Well, our fields currently are set up more for youth baseball and youth softball. But with the addition of collegiate baseball, of course, we had to expand the fence, increase and move the lighting. Right now, it's about field 3 is like 300 feet currently. Mm-hmm. But once we do the expansion, it'll move from 300 feet to 330 in left field, 380 in center field, and then we're going to do something neat and have our own version of the Green Monster, like the Boston Red Sox, in right field, and it'll be about 315 feet. So it's going to be fun to watch those guys that try to hit it out the park over there.
Oh, sure, yeah. And you're making some other improvements too.
Yeah, we're going to add a PA system, so that's going to be nice to be able for people to be able to hear the play-by-play. We're going to purchase additional bleachers where we'll have around the back of the home plate, kind of like you see, in the majors and some college places where people can view the pitch coming in and the hit going out.
Sure.
And we're also doing because we've having to extend the fence line and the lighting, we'll have to do some paving and restriping on the parking lot to make sure we have proper ingress and regress along with parking.
You're making some big changes to accommodate this team.
Yes, sir, we are, and it's only going to continue to enhance what we already have. I think by expanding the field, we'll not only continue for it to be used for our recreation and softball leagues, but we can host a whole variety of other tournaments, and we'll be able to host several older kids now that the field will be bigger. But what the expansion of Field 3 will do to the smaller kids getting a chance to play on that in the off season of the Collegiate Summer League will be great. Even though they won't be able to knock it out of the park, just being on that field, I think, will be exciting for them.
Oh yeah, won't that be great? Well, I know this is good news on many different levels. But let's talk about the impact for the residents. Haywood, what does this mean?
Well, I think one thing Preston has stressed since he's been here and our whole team Reidsville staff does is quality of life. I think it provides a unique opportunity for our citizens to experience a night out at the ball game. I think Jeff and Judy will talk about the local economy boost, visiting fans, staying in our hotels, eating in our restaurants, and shopping at our stores. I think it's going to be a really exciting time. I think welcoming Old North State to the city of Reidsville, it just provides a unique opportunity. And this type of experience will only strengthen the Reidsville community, and we're excited about it.
Oh, we're excited with you. Well, Judy, let's turn to you because, a big part of this is the economic impact. So give us that good news.
Well, I think, depending on the games that are going to be played there, and, Haywood touched on part of that, but some of these tournaments that can be brought in, there's one that's called a perfect game, and that can bring 20 to 40 teams in each one of those tournaments. And just think about how many people will be staying in hotel rooms for that kind of thing, eating at our restaurants, getting gas at our gas stations, possibly visiting Hibbett Sports. I mean, it has a huge economic impact all the way around. But one of the big things that it does is, those of us that are in the tourism industry refer to it as heads and beds. Mm-hmm. So that's the people that spend the night in our local hotels. In the state of North Carolina, there is an accommodations tax, and you find it in any state you go to. I'm sure you go stay at a hotel, you look at that bill at the end of the stay, and you're like, Lord, look at all these taxes I've just paid. But that accommodations tax that's paid in our hotels in North Carolina comes back to the local communities, and that money is mandated through legislation on how you spend that money. So that money is used to promote tourism outside your area. So every time somebody spends the night in a hotel here in Rockingham County and specifically in the Reidsville market, a percentage of that comes back locally, not only to the county but to the cities. So it's a great economic development tool all the way around.
Mm-hmm. It really is. And that adds up really over the course of a year, doesn't it?
Oh, certainly it does. I mean, if you were to look at the county economic development, it's actually the convention or the visitors area of the county, you would see that their budget is, they get a good chunk of change based on that accommodations tax. And then I think it's 3.5% that comes back to the cities in Reidsville and Eden as well from our local hotels.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Thank you, Judy, for that. Jeff, let's turn to you and get a little more information about the economic impact that this is going to have for Reidsville.
Yeah, well, Judy and Haywood have summarized it really well. Just a couple of specifics. We looked at just kind of the per capita impact. There's some studies about minor league baseball, and a lot of it is to justify publicly funded stadiums and fields. They have to show a positive impact to get people excited about the city spending a bunch of money in some other places on stadiums, and Greensboro is a good example, and Winston-Salem was privately funded. And these aren't teams that are flush with cash. I mean, minor league baseball is in some cases, it's almost a community service, even though there's a very important baseball aspect to it from developing talent. So we looked at the lowest level minor league, pro, even below probably the low single A level, has upwards to a $200 per capita economic trickle. And that may not sound like a lot until you multiply it by 15 or so thousand Reidsville residents, and of course the census will help us get that higher, by the way. Mm-hmm. That's a $3 million annual impact. So even if you took a third of that, $75 to $100 of impact per capita, we're still in the million range, just of what it'll do for the community in our tax base, and as was mentioned, accommodations tax, sales tax, all those kind of things. So that's a big deal. People will be coming from out of town. I mean, these other teams that Haywood mentioned, where they're from, some of the farthest away ones will definitely be staying. A lot of the players are local, to the region. They may go to Elon or UNC Greensboro, and they play in these leagues, which is great, because another impact we see is, these are folks that are going to be graduating college in not too distant future and looking for a place to settle and a career. And if Reidsville can put its best foot forward with a Class A facility, showing off our quality of life, other things that there is to do here, we may attract young families. Folks starting a career right out of college, Reidsville's a great place to do it. So we're excited about that potential, and that equals apartments and houses and things like that potentially. And that economic impact we can't even measure at the moment. And we get one resident, that's a success. So we're excited about that, and we know Reidsville is going to absolutely shine from an attractive standpoint to get some of these folks. But it's really about just diversifying the economy, and we've done a great job of that. Again, the city manager has been a great leader, and city council really in particular. There's just so much that this can bring. We lose an industry and some taxes, and we pick up a baseball league. We get some new retail. We've got some things downtown that are going to transform the city. So you put all that together, and we're able to stabilize, the city's funds to be able to provide those services back to our citizens and visitors. So a lot of really positive outcomes of this. We've also talked. There's just been some very conceptual talk about some of when the full collegiate season starts in the spring. A lot of those schools from the north can't play yet. Penn State, Purdue, Syracuse, places like that, and really maybe not that large, but some of the smaller schools from the Northeast and the Midwest. They travel south for the first probably third of their collegiate season, which is difficult, not playing in your hometown. But a lot of times they'll look at neutral venues to have a little tournament. Could be UNCG, Elon, and I don't know, Amherst, Massachusetts baseball. I don't know, whoever it may be, to attract some of those regular season NCAA collegiate level opportunities as well. And you can imagine what that would bring, for a weekend or a week-long tournament for those schools to come down. And again, it's just another way for us to host out-of-town folks and put a good impression out there.
Mm-hmm, sure. Well, I know we're looking at things immediately, but it really has a long-lasting economic impact too, doesn't it, to Jeff and Judy?
Yeah, it does, and it gives our people something else to do. Family-friendly entertainment is what we hear a lot about. People were bummed out that the bowling alley shut down, and we've had folks looking at all kinds of quality of life projects, movies. I mean, just you name it, that this will help fit into that dynamic and give those people more of a reason to open a restaurant if they see the value and being able to attract revenue. So it will trickle down into all kinds of ways. And Judy, like you mentioned, can probably talk about that as well.
Yeah. Okay, Judy.
Well, I mean, I agree. It's a huge trickle down effect, and there's no telling, what can snowball from it. They say that people have to visit an area 3 times before they decide this is someplace they want to live. So you can, it has all kinds of potential for people that are coming into our market to see what a great area we are. We're a hop skip from Greensboro. So you're close to a metro. It's a great opportunity, and that quality of life piece is so important. People at this point in time are really, with everything that's happened with COVID and everything else, I think what you're going to find is that a lot of people are going to be looking at small towns. Mm-hmm. They want to get out of those big cities with all those people, and they want to look at the simpler things. It really gives you a perspective of what's really important. And, Reidsville has so much to offer when it comes to quality of life and just the simple things in life, and enjoying your neighbors, your friends, your family, your church, where you work, where you play. So Reidsville's just a great place, and I think it's just going to be a huge win for us all the way around.
Oh, yeah, a win on many levels for sure. And what kind of impact does this do to the city's marketing campaign, Judy?
Well, again, it gives us another one of those pieces for the quality of life. And it really shows to folks outside this area how our council has the foresight to think ahead on things. There's so much that can come from this, and this is also something that if we do here, it gives us a leg up, so to speak, on other municipalities in our county that don't have this piece that we can offer.
Yeah. This is just another piece in the big picture, isn't it, Judy?
It is. Absolutely it is. And all those little pieces add up to a great way to be able to market your community.
Mm-hmm. Certainly.
I just want to
Team
throw in
Reidsville.
real quick that,
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely. I mentioned I talk a lot publicly and privately about City Council's leadership and their willingness to invest in the community for all the right reasons, and obviously credit to the city management and leadership team and Haywood and Preston and others. Council has the foresight to do this, to fund this field expansion, and Haywood can probably mention a little bit about the budget, but they basically gave us the green light at the last council meeting to do this, and we're in some tough budget times, and for them to see that it's still worth investing in, that says a lot about the potential.
Mm-hmm. Just the forward thinking.
It is. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
It's a progressive group at Team Reidsville, and we're just going to keep doing stuff until it fails, and maybe it never will.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, Market Square is a fine example of that as well.
Oh yeah.
When Market Square was built, it was at a time when the market had crashed, and people were like, "What are you doing?" But our council and leadership had the foresight to see, this was the time to do it, and look at what an attribute that has become for our city. It's the hub of our downtown. It's where people come to gather when we're in regular times, not in the kind of times we're in now. Those concerts and events out there bring people from all over. So, it's very, I just think it's wonderful that we have leadership that can think way ahead and not look at just today.
That's exactly right. And whether you're planning for the baseball season or infrastructure or whatever, it's that long-term planning that gets us where we need to be down the road 10, 20 years from now.
That's right.
Yeah. Okay. All right. I'm coming to the farmers market Saturday. I've already got it on my calendar, Judy, by the way.
Oh, good. Well, good. It'll be a good market, I know.
Yeah, it's great. A seasonal time now for that. Well, Haywood, maybe we'll come back to you for a wrap-up, perhaps.
Well, I think, as we said earlier, as everyone has alluded to, this is just a great opportunity for us. We're excited about it. It's going to do all those things that Judy and Jeff mentioned. And it's just going to add to the success we've already had. You talked about earlier how baseball's popularity is growing in Reidsville, has a rich history, And so this is just, again, another thing that we are doing that's going to strengthen Team Reidsville, and we're excited about it.
Well, I share in your excitement, and thank you for giving us the good news about the old North State League and what's happening in Reidsville. I think I'm going to finish up here and go watch Field of Dreams.
Build it and they will come.
That's exactly right. Yeah. If you got the vision, put it together, and Team Reidsville does that so effectively. Thank you, Judy. Thank you, Haywood. Thank you, Jeff. Anything else to finish up?
No, thank you, Mike. We appreciate what you do with us. Yeah, we thank you for giving us the platform to be able to talk about what we're doing. And again, we're just excited.
Well, all the best to you, and thank you for your time today. I know you're all extremely busy, but I appreciate you sharing the good news with us. More good news from Team Reidsville, and have a good week. We'll talk again soon.
Thanks, Mike.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mike.
Bye. That's our Rise Up Reidsville program, and it's sponsored by the Reidsville Chamber of Commerce and Visitor Center right downtown. They'll have another business community huddle for Team Reidsville today at 2 o'clock. Jeff and a number of other community leaders participating in that program tomorrow on managing cash flow. That's at noon. A lot of virtual programs going on now. President Diane Sawyer's News and Views program, great business resource, regional job listings. You'll find all of those on their Facebook page, Reidsville Chamber of Commerce, the website, reidsvillechamber.org. The Reidsville Chamber of Commerce, established in 1914, that goes back a way, doesn't it? And leading the way with so many good programs and activities that they have, and overcoming some of the challenges that we're all facing now during the pandemic. And that's our program for sure. And I'm Mike Moore. Thank you for listening. You can get more information at Reidsville at riseupreadsville.com. riseupreadsville.com.